This is Andrew Davis with Blue Water Business Solutions, here to show you how to install CommandBox 6 on Docker using the MultiSite feature with ModCFML. Now, some prerequisites are going to be that you go ahead and get a DigitalOcean server droplet up and running, and we're going to SSH into it, and that's what I'm about to do now. You can see it's the first time I've SSH'd into it, so it has a little bit of information it asks. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the home directory, and we're going to follow this guide here that I'm working on. It's still a work in progress, but there's a repo that Orta Solutions has out that they use for all their builds. You can go check it out. There's a link on there for it. But what we're going to do is we're going to clone that and make some modifications to it. So we typed in git clone and then paste that information in there. Now you can see we have a Docker command box up and running. Now the next step we're going to do is we're going to modify the install command box shell command that Ortus currently has. And to do that, I'm just going to use nano. Build util install commandbox.sh. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger at first. Scroll down. And the first thing we need to do is this line right here. Box config set server single server mode is true. We're going to turn that to false. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy this information here. Now what this is going to do is while it's warming up the server, it's going to add some stuff to the server.json. Now for the demo purposes, I want you to be aware of this modcfml shared key. I'm just putting in there as my secret. We'll have to use that later on, but I want you to be aware of it, that you need to change that before you launch in production. It's a security issue that I'm not sure exactly what all it does, but I know it just prevents somebody else from accessing your server on Tomcat. So we're going to save that file. And the next thing we're going to do is run a Docker build command. What you'll need is a, well, you'll need it here in a minute, but you'll need a hub.docker.com username. Go ahead and sign up for it at hub.docker.com. I'm going to copy this here. One thing I'm going to change is right here where it says your username. I'm going to change it to my username. And we're going to tell it to build with CommandBox version 6.0.1, which is the latest version at the moment of recording. So we're going to run this build and let it work. It's downloading all the files currently. And you'll see in a minute here it's installing dependencies. It'll also go through and install CommandBox, and you'll see those server commands that we put in there as well. Here's downloading CommandBox. Give it just a minute here to run. It's usually fairly fast, but I'm on a small droplet here just for demo purposes. CommandBox is doing some cleanup now. All right, there's the single server mode equals false. You see that? That's what we changed. And then coming next, you'll see the other commands that we entered in there. That's to enable mod CFML, which is what is used for multi-sites on CommandBox. Now, not to be confused, CommandBox 6 does have multi-site option as well. It's something totally different than mod CFML. And I encourage you to go check that information out. Here you see we're setting mod CFML enabled equals true. We're going to set the secret key here, or the shared key, to my secret. There's the final command that's running of what we have changed. There's still a few more commands to go. Now we're warming up the Docker CommandBox server. This makes it so that whenever you load it each time, it's already initialized and ready to go. You know how CommandBox is a little slow at first start, doing all the initialization? That's what's happening here for you. And feel free to fast forward just a little bit through this if you need to. I'm just going to let it record in its entirety. It should be about done now. It's getting close. All right, it's done. The image is now built. So what I'm going to do is, first I'll need to log in to my Docker Hub account, and to do that I'll type in Docker login, enter my username, enter my password. It says login succeeded. So now I can push to my username / my command box, and you feel free to name this whatever you like. And this process here is going to upload that image to Docker Hub for us to use later. You can use a local image. I'm not going to show you how to do that right now, but that is a possibility. If you're familiar with Docker, feel free to do so and not push it to Docker Hub. Feel free to skip this part here. Not much to see here other than it uploading a file. All right, looks like everything's been pushed. Let's wait for confirmation. There we go. So now we have our image up on Docker Hub. The next thing I want to show you is I like to use a program called Portainer. And it's a real simple way of managing Docker containers and things like that. Here's a link to the documentation. And what I'm going to do is scroll down here and follow the instructions for deployment. Docker volume create Portainer data. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that into my Docker terminal here. Portainer data is created. Next thing I'm going to do is copy this code here. And it's going to install that Docker container for you. Now I've already created a host file to site 1 to this server for site 1 and site 2. But I'm going to, if I can type, log in on port 9443. It's going to throw a server security error. Just go to hit advanced and proceed. It's safe. This will load in Portainer for you, asking you for a username and password. And it's got to be 12 characters. So go ahead and enter in your password. Hit create user. And then I'm going to come over here and hit home. And then local. And where we're going to go next is to a stack. And a stack is like a Docker Compose file. So I'm going to come over here to add stack. Type in CommandBox. I'm going to come over here to my little handy dandy tutorial here. And I'm going to copy this. And there's some stuff I want to go over with you first before we deploy it. You'll see what we're doing is we're loading NGINX, and we're going to route the volume of the var NGINX config D to etc NGINX config D. That way we can locally edit all of our NGINX config files. I'm going to do the same for the Lucy config and the Lucy proxy config, as well as my www directory. Come right here, put in your username, and before I get started, let's go ahead and work on the var NGINX config D. So I'm going to come back to my terminal, go to /var. There is no NGINX folder. You can put this wherever you'd like. Alright, make dir config D. Now I'm going to open up Docker Home here. I've got some files that I'm going to copy over, and you can get these files by going to this website here for modcfml and NGINX. They are created by Pete Freitag, so it's all about security. I'm going to just copy this here, and this is the lucy.conf file. So in the NGINX directory, I'm just going to paste that in, and you can see when I cat that out, that information is there. All right, the next file I need to get is the lucy-proxy. I'm going to copy this. Now there's some modifications to this we're going to need. One is the proxy pass, and that's going to be app. And what that comes from is whenever we're creating our CommandBox container right here, I'm calling it app. So there's a host name for each one. There's a host name for web and a host name for app. So this allows it to proxy pass to our app on port 8080. Now port 8885 is exposed to the real world through the local port of 8080, but we're dealing with the local port of 8080. Now the next thing you need to do is come over here and comment out this proxy set header HTTPS. I'm not sure exactly why, but it's not working at the moment. We'll need to figure that out. And then the next thing you'll need to do is come right here where your secret key is and put in your secret. This is the secret that you defined in the build process. Now everything else looks good. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to create a file called site1.com.config. And we'll start with a basic that I was working on my local machine. We're going to change the server name, site1.com, and then we're going to tell it the root, site1.com, and I'm going to just comment these out for now. I'm not worried about the login at the moment. And then I'm going to set the Lucy context here to site1.com. I'm going to copy that, save it, Do the same thing for site 2. And I already have a host file pointing site1 and site2.com to my DigitalOcean server that I'm working on. And tell it that. To save, now we need to create the www folder because it's not on here. Make directory site1, site2.com. And then I'm just going to say hello from site1.com. And just dump now. Copy that. Go to site2.com folder. I'm going to create a file in there that says hello from site2.com. All right, now we have our file structure set up. I can show you a little bit about the Portainer and what it's doing. We're mapping the config.d over, the lucyconf over, the lucyproxy over, and the var www over to the var www on the NGINX machine. We're using port 80 locally and exposed. The exposed port 443 for secure and 443 internal. Now we're pulling the image from your username dot, or slash my command box or whatever you name the file. We are going to expose port 8885 for now so we can test it, but it's going to locally be running on port 8080. Now we've got a help check in here, which will basically do a curl and check to see if the site is Cold Fusion is actually processing. Highly handy. All right, so now I'm going to come over here and hit deploy stack, and fingers crossed everything works. All right, stack successfully deployed. I'm going to click in here, and you can see the web is running, the app is starting. But I'm going to come over here, go to site1.com, port 88885, see if we get anything. And we do not. Let's check it out. It's still loading is why. Wait for it to say healthy or running. Going to give it a few minutes here. All right, after a few minutes, it passed the health check and it says it's healthy. So I'm going to come over here, fingers crossed, and try accessing that site. And there you go. CommandBox is up and running on Docker. Now, that isn't multi-site. That is just connecting to the CommandBox server itself. So I'm going to remove this port here and see if it works. There we go. Hello from site 1, site2.com. Hello from site 2. So as you can see, we have successfully set up multi-site using mod CFML on Docker with CommandBox and DigitalOcean with NGINX. Now the next steps would be to configure SSL certificates, which is can be done with Let's Encrypt, I suggest, but that's for another day. So I hope you found this helpful and useful. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me on Slack or on Twitter. My handle is BlueSoul850. Thanks for watching.